Have you ever noticed the way silence fills a room, not just with quiet, but with tension? Maybe you sat among friends, colleagues, or even family, and sensed the invisible ripples that follow whenever you choose not to speak. Have you ever wondered why your decision to hold your words, to observe instead of announce, to simply be present without always being involved, seems to unsettle people? Why your very quietness sometimes feels like a threat to those who expect noise, small talk, and constant affirmation? Ask yourself, how many times have you been told to lighten up, to just relax, to speak up more, as if your silence is a flaw that needs correcting? How often have you felt pressure to perform, to fill the air with opinions you don't actually hold, laughter you don't actually feel, stories that aren't really yours? There is a hidden discomfort. That silence exposes a discomfort that is often blamed on the silent person, rather than those who are disturbed by it. Why do people grow restless when you're not constantly proving yourself with words? Why is the thoughtful man so often mistaken for arrogant, aloof, or cold? And yet, you may have noticed something else too. Beneath the awkwardness, beneath the occasional sideways glances and nervous chatter, there is a strange kind of power that comes with simply being at ease with yourself. When you choose not to perform, when you can sit in your own silence without apology, people notice. Sometimes they're unsettled. Sometimes they're even afraid. But what, exactly, are they afraid of? This is not a story about being shy. It is not a celebration of avoidance or an argument for withdrawal from the world. This is about the specific, quiet presence of the intelligent man, a presence that refuses to be manipulated by noise, distraction, or the expectation to always be on. This is about the man who, instead of chasing attention, commands respect through depth, discernment, and self-control. He isn't trying to impress. He simply is. If you're listening to this, perhaps you know what I mean. Perhaps you've been labeled as intense, serious, or mysterious, not because you intend to be, but because you see more than you say, and you'd rather be silent than participate in superficiality. Maybe your silence is not emptiness, but the fullness of your own awareness. Maybe your presence doesn't seek to fill the space, but to ground it. So why does that disturb people? Why does the intelligent man's silence, his refusal to over-explain, to entertain, to flatter, make him so intimidating to others? Why do some seem almost desperate to break the silence, to fill it with anything, even if it's just noise? What does it mean when your very existence, your peace, becomes a mirror in which others see not you, but their own unrest? If these questions resonate with you, you are not alone. And the answer to why your silence unsettles the world, why your calm is mistaken for coldness, and your stillness for judgment begins with understanding the deeper forces at play in the human soul. Throughout history, the power of silence has perplexed and fascinated thinkers, mystics, and philosophers alike. Kierkegaard, the father of existentialism, once said, "If I could prescribe just one remedy for all the ills of the modern world, I would prescribe silence." But why? Why is silence seen as a remedy, and why does it create so much discomfort in the modern mind? Society, in its rush to define success, belonging, and even love, has quietly woven a set of rules around noise and performance. From a young age, we are conditioned to equate talking with participation, activity with worthiness, and visibility with value. The message is simple: be seen, be heard, and above all, do not fade quietly into the background. In such a world, the silent man is a paradox. He subverts these unspoken social contracts, not through rebellion, but through restraint. This restraint, rooted in intelligence, is unsettling because it exposes the artificiality of social conditioning. Silence is not emptiness. In fact, the intelligent man's silence is the result of having too much to say and knowing that most of it will be misunderstood or misused. He is not interested in filling space with half-formed thoughts or echoing what has already been said 100 times. He would rather wait for a moment that truly matters, for a question that pierces the surface, or for a connection worthy of his presence. Nietzsche, another giant of philosophy, described this discomfort when he wrote, "The higher we soar, the smaller we appear to those who cannot fly." In other words, the silent man's refusal to engage in empty talk can be perceived as arrogance by those who mistake quantity of words for quality of thought. But in truth, his silence is not arrogance, but depth. It is a deliberate choice to value meaning over approval, insight over applause. Silence, when inhabited by intelligence, becomes a kind of power. It makes others question their own need for noise. It invites them to examine what they are running from, perhaps themselves, or the possibility that there is more to life than constant stimulation. Silence unsettles because it forces the world to confront the gap between who we are and who we pretend to be. Yet for all its power, silence can also be lonely. The world rarely celebrates the observer, the listener, or the man who knows when not to speak. Instead, it rewards the loudest, the quickest, the most visible. But here's the root cause. When you choose silence, you're not just breaking social expectations, you're exposing them. You become a mirror, and what people see in your silence is often their own emptiness reflected back at them. That is why society fears intelligent men who are comfortable with silence. In a culture where distraction is currency, your presence is a disruption. Your stillness is a challenge. And so, the quiet power of the intelligent man is both admired and admired by those who recognize it, feared by those who are threatened by it. Look closely at the fabric of modern relationships and social life, and you'll see a world built not on presence, but on performance. Step into any gathering, workplace, or even digital space, and notice how quickly people rush to fill every moment with conversation, laughter, stories often without substance or sincerity. Most people are not truly listening to one another. They're waiting for their turn to speak, to be noticed, to play a role they believe will make them accepted, desired, or at the very least, not invisible dot in this climate, the silent, intelligent. Man stands apart not by force, but by his refusal to participate in the superficial game. He doesn't compete for attention. He doesn't scramble for validation. Instead, he observes. He notices the subtext behind the words, the subtle shifts in body language, the contradiction between what is said and what is actually meant. He's attuned to the music beneath the noise, the truth behind the facade. But this presence unsettles those around him. People have become experts in distraction checking their phones at the slightest pause, performing emotions for social media, chasing constant stimulation so they never have to sit with their own thoughts. When someone enters the scene who does not play along, who simply listens, who allows space for discomfort, who isn't trying to please, he becomes a kind of threat. His silence is a spotlight that reveals how hollow much of the noise really is. In romantic relationships, this dynamic is especially pronounced. Many connections today are built on mutual validation and emotional performance rather than real intimacy. Partners often expect reassurance, constant engagement, and a steady flow of compliments. When the intelligent man offers presence instead of performance, depth instead of drama, many partners feel lost or even rejected. The script they've learned to follow suddenly doesn't apply, and this creates anxiety. The same is true in friendships and workplaces. The silent man's boundaries, his refusal to gossip, to flatter, to overshare, to react for the sake of reacting, are often misread as aloofness or lack of interest. But in reality, he is searching for sincerity. He is seeking interactions where words mean something, where presence is not a performance, but a genuine encounter. This search, however, is rarely rewarded. The crowd favors conformity, predictability, and the safety of roles. The individual who steps outside those roles, who sees and refuses to be seen just for show, disturbs the delicate equilibrium. It's important to see this clearly. In a society addicted to performance, the act of simply truly being becomes radical. The intelligent man who doesn't play along exposes the emptiness of the game itself. His silence is not passive. It's an active statement. It's a mirror that reflects the distance between who people are and who they pretend to be. The world is not used to this kind of presence. It can feel like rejection. It can feel like judgment. But really, it is an invitation, a silent challenge to abandon the masks and meet at a deeper level. Few accept this challenge. Most withdraw, project, or attack. But for those who are ready, the presence of the silent, intelligent man is unforgettable, a rare encounter with authenticity in a world starving for it. But what does it cost to live this way, to be the silent observer, the one who resists the call to perform? The price is real, and it is steep. As you choose authenticity over conformity, you begin to notice a gap widening between yourself and the world around you. The more you see, the harder it becomes to unsee. The more you feel, the harder it is to accept the shallow exchanges that pass for connection in most social spaces. First comes misunderstanding. People will misread your silence, assigning motives that have nothing to do with you. They may call you cold, distant, or arrogant, not realizing that your quietness is born of awareness, not contempt. They mistake your reluctance to engage in empty chatter for superiority, when in truth it is humility, the humility to recognize that not every thought must be spoken, not every moment must be filled. You will find that the less you say, the more others project onto you, filling the silence with their own insecurities. Then comes isolation. As you grow less willing to conform to roles that feel false, some relationships will fall away. Invitations may become less frequent. You may notice, in moments of honesty, that your phone rings less often, or that people look past you at gatherings, uncertain how to draw you out. It is not that you are unwelcome, but that your presence quietly demands a level of sincerity many are not ready to offer. Some will avoid you because your clarity makes them uncomfortable. Others may resent you for not playing along with the subtle rituals of reassurance and performance. There will also be loneliness, not the surface. Loneliness of being physically alone, but the deeper ache of knowing that few truly see you. The intelligent man, awake and unafraid of silence, often walks a solitary path. It is the loneliness of those who have chosen truth over comfort, substance over spectacle. You may find yourself longing for genuine connection, but unwilling to pay the price of your own authenticity just to have company. Yet in the midst of these losses, something new begins to grow. The pain of isolation becomes the soil in which self-respect, clarity, and inner peace take root. The world's approval loses its grip on your spirit. You begin to realize that suffering is not failure. It is the necessary crucible of transformation. The ache you feel is the birth pain of growth proof that you are alive, awake, and moving toward something real. And so, the cost of awakening is never cheap. You will lose comfort, popularity, and perhaps even love that was built on illusion. But what you gain is far more precious: the freedom to live in alignment with your own soul. To suffer for truth is to gain the ability to see with unclouded eyes, to love without needing to possess, to walk away without bitterness or regret. The world may not understand you, but you will understand yourself. And in that understanding, you will discover a strength no applause can give and no criticism can take away. Yet in all this, the misunderstanding, the isolation, the loneliness, there is a profound, untouchable power that emerges. This is the power of a man who is no longer at the mercy of external approval, who has learned to be rooted in himself, even when the world tries to shake him. If you are this man, or are becoming this man, understand. Your silence is not a weakness to be fixed, but a strength to be owned. Your restraint is not repression. It is mastery. When you stop chasing validation, you begin to discover the freedom of authentic choice. You realize that you do not have to explain yourself to anyone who is committed to misunderstanding you. Your standards, your boundaries, your refusal to engage in empty noise, these become shields, not walls. You are not cold. You are clear. You are not arrogant. You are aligned. You are not distant. You are discerning. Every time you resist the urge to overshare, to flatter for approval, to perform for an audience that does not even see you, you reclaim your own attention. You call back your energy from the places it has been wasted. In this world, being whole is a rare and radical act. To be undivided, to speak only when it matters, to walk away when a situation insults your spirit, these are acts of sovereignty. Let this truth settle into your bones. You do not exist to make others comfortable at the expense of your own clarity. The greatest rebellion left is the rebellion of living authentically in a culture addicted to performance. Your presence, your discernment, your depth, they are gifts, even if they are rarely recognized by the crowd. The more you root yourself in your own integrity, the less you will be moved by the shifting moods and judgments of others. Remember, the world may shrink from your silence, but there are a few rare, but real, who will be drawn to it like a beacon. These are people who have also outgrown the need for constant distraction, who crave real connection and truth. By staying true to yourself, you become a signal to those who are ready to meet you at that depth dot. This is the invitation. Do not shrink to fit the shallow expectations of those around you. Do not apologize for being whole in a world that profits from fragmentation. Do not hide your intelligence, your questions, your standards, or your stillness. You are not here to play a role. You are here to embody the truth of who you are. Even if it costs you applause, even if it costs you approval, even if it means walking alone for a while, ultimately, it is not comfort that transforms you. It is courage, the courage to choose authenticity over popularity, to risk being feared rather than betray your own soul. This is the path of the real man. Not the man who shouts the loudest, but the one who can stand in silence and be unmoved. The one whose presence alone is a quiet revolution. So what does all of this mean for you, the man who has chosen the power of silence, the strength of presence over the fleeting comfort of applause? It means you are walking a path few dare to follow, but one that leads to a kind of freedom no amount of popularity or validation can offer. The world may never understand the depth of your journey, but that does not lessen its worth. In fact, it makes your journey more necessary than ever in an age obsessed with noise, speed, and constant stimulation. True freedom is not found in being liked by everyone. It's found in knowing yourself truly, honestly, in the moments when the world grows quiet and there is no one left to impress. That is the place where you meet your real self, stripped of every role, every mask, every borrowed belief. It is in the silent spaces that you discover what truly matters, your peace, your integrity, your calling. Let your silence be your strength. Let your discernment set the tone for your relationships, your work, your life. Remember, you are not too quiet, too deep, too intense, or too much. You are simply more than what the surface allows, and there is nothing wrong with refusing to. Play small just to fit in. The world's discomfort with your silence is a reflection of its discomfort with its own shallowness, not your problem to fix. Stay the course, even when the loneliness feels heavy and the misunderstandings seem never-ending. Every time you choose self-respect over self-betrayal, you become more anchored in your own truth. Every time you walk away from what insults your soul, you open space for something truer to find you. You are not broken for wanting more than performance, more than convenience. more than the emotional fast food that passes for connection in most of today's world. Instead, you are the beginning of something new. You are proof that a different way is possible, a way built on meaning, not mimicry, substance, not spectacle. You may never be cheered by the crowd, but you will be recognized by the rare. You may not be the most popular man in the room, but you will be the one who stands out, whose presence lingers, whose authenticity inspires even those who can't admit it. So, what now? Keep listening to that quiet inner voice. Keep cultivating your awareness. Keep walking your path, even if it means doing so in solitude for a while. Seek out others who value what is real, not just what is loud. And if this message resonates with you, know that you are not alone. There is a community of men and women who are awakening to the same truths, and your journey matters to them too. Share this message with someone you know who needs it. Reflect on your own relationship with silence and authenticity. If you want to support this mission, join the movement of those who choose depth over distraction, presence over performance, truth over comfort. The world needs you whole, awake, unafraid to let your silence speak.